Yo, what is up guys? It is Bumfries, back with a little bit more Ask Reddit. Today's question is gonna be, GameStop employees of Reddit, what are some of your horror stories? And I hope you guys enjoy. Also, if you leave a like right now, you get 15 Bumfries points and I'll work out pretty soon what you can redeem them for. But let's get right into it. The best story that I love to tell is the mum and son story. It was a 40-ish-year-old mum and a 7 to 10-ish-year-old boy. They came into our store, which was in a large strip mall with a lot of stores, and didn't even look at the merchandise, came up to the counter and asked to let their kid use the bathroom. She clarified that she isn't here to buy anything, but has spent thousands of dollars in our store previously. We politely tell her that we can't let customers use our bathroom because it's in the back of the store with lots of high-priced merchandise. That's our policy, and we have cameras that corporate reviews the footage of. Additionally, what we don't tell her is that all of the used game consoles that people sell back to us, we store in the bathroom. There was 1 month prior to Christmas that I had to do some impressive yoga to get to the toilet. I'm sure those consoles were a hazmat, but I digress. Anyway, not to be unsympathetic to this kid's plight, we tell the mum that the pizza place next door lets people use their bathroom if they buy something, and the cheapest thing is a $1 bottle of soda or water. She starts flipping out on us and spewing expletives, telling us that she paid our salaries 10 times over and that we're going to hell, yada yada yada. Then, no joke, tells her son to just go. The kid actually unzips and pees all over the carpet in front of my register. Then they left. I've never been so grossed out and dumbfounded. I had to close up for the day and half of the next day while GameStop paid to have our carpet sanitized. This resulted in a loss of pay for the weekend. I really wonder what happened to the kid. He's gotta be in his 20s by now. I don't even live in the US where GameStop is, but just a mental note to myself, if I ever walk in there and decide I need to buy a used console, turn myself around and go somewhere else because I ain't picking up a used console from a bathroom. I had a couple come in to return a Sesame Street video game and a controller. They had a receipt from over a year ago and the game was scratched to hell and the controller was full of dried soda. They said it didn't work anymore, what a shocker, and they were furious when I wouldn't give them their money back. Like they were standing there and screaming at me. I was the manager, so I had no one else there to back me up. Honestly, it was crazy. Their kid was bawling and the lady was swearing like a syphilitic sailor and the husband couldn't finish a sentence. Pretty sure that they were both super high too. So you know, that was fun. When the PS2 came out, I was assistant manager and my manager would sell them out of the back room at a markup. He was such a snake. I took the demo Xbox home with a copy of Halo before the system launched one night and had a 4-player all-night party. One of the other local stores had someone dig through the outside wall and steal everything out of their back room. Bro, for real, from reading all this, working at GameStop sounds hectic AF. Unless you're here to get up in that gang stuff, you're better off working at Walmart because man, working at GameStop gets you involved in some serious trouble. I worked at GameStop a long time ago, but I'll never forget this one. One night, a guy brought in a really dusty and dirty GameCube, wanting cash of course. I asked him if it worked and he said he didn't know because he hadn't played it in a long time. I told him that we have to check every console, and when I turned it on and opened up the lip, about 100 roaches came out all over the counter. Who knew as a GameStop employee you would see so much crap? I thought it would have been chill as hell, but I guess I'm wrong. I worked in a store where theft was a very common occurrence, but this one dude, he nabbed one of the cheap controllers off the wall from the back of the store, puts it in his backpack, then comes over to the counter, reaches across the counter, opens a drawer and steals a brand new game out of the drawer, takes it away from the register, opens it, waits in line and trades in the game for 25 bucks. Then this guy asks me to look for something in one of the bottom drawers and he steals back the game that he just traded in a second time. After that, he immediately left the store before I could notice that he was gone. I gotta give him credit though. He has some slick balls. This is like the real life definition of level 100 sneak in Skyrim. This dude straight up stealing stuff from under somebody's nose and didn't even get caught. That's gotta take some balls and honestly, without condoning what he did, props to the man for being so slick. I was an assistant manager when one of the Madden games come out and it was maybe the 04 version. We were doing a big midnight opening for it and everyone was having a great time waiting for the game, which we were picking up from another store about 30 miles away. Around 11 o'clock, after people had been waiting for 2 hours after the mall closed, I got a phone call. The game wasn't coming. I almost broke down sitting behind the register, dreading the thought of telling everybody that just wasted their time. To make matters worse, another store within walking distance of us got their games. I just wanted to die that night. I am so grateful that our customers took it well and didn't get too angry. This one goes to show just how much times have changed in the last 15 or so years. I know for a fact that stores now get the games well in advance, and this kind of situation would never happen. I just can't imagine having to tell those people that they weren't going to get their game after wasting 2 hours of their time. I once had a lady and her teenage son come in to trade in several DVDs and games that they'd just stolen from Walmart behind the strip mall where our store was. A Walmart employee calls me to ask if they are in my store and says that the cops are on their way. So stall or do whatever I can to keep them there. And I said sure. I told them the cash versus store credit value of their items without mentioning that I can't even take them because they're still wrapped in cellophane. I walked them around the store and talked about which games are the best value for money, etc. The cop showed up and asked them to step outside, and I just smile and go behind the counter. They follow the police out, and one officer comes back a minute later to get the merchandise, and that was the last I heard about it. Not a horror story, but definitely weird. Then there was this wealthy couple who had 3 kids, and each kid had a Wii, a PS3, and an Xbox 360. They would pre-order every major game that came out for each system, and always the deluxe edition. They spent a ton of money in our store, and they were crazy. They were so abusive to every employee. They cussed at us and called us stupid. They would ask for things they knew they couldn't have and then throw a fit. They would scour their receipts for anything that could be a mistake and make you explain it to them over and over. I went to work at a different company, and they came into my store there and got in line for my favorite cashier. I immediately called a manager over when it was their turn to check out, explained how I knew them and that there was a 99% chance they would make the cashier cry. He went over there, and just as he got there, they were beginning to raise their voice about some supposed mistake. Luckily, that manager is super good at handling people and got them out without letting them get a word in edgewise. I practically had PTSD from dealing with them. I think they got off on abusing people together. They would sometimes be laughing as they did it. If they found a legitimate mistake in anything, their faces would just light up. They were truly evil people. You know what? I'm really sorry. I didn't realize we were doing Entitled Parents this episode. I actually thought this was Ask Reddit. Oh wait, it is. This is just an entitled parent who happens to be a horrible person like normal. Am I surprised? Not at all. I had a guy once who stole a bunch of crap from a store across town, and that store was in my district. We were using the GroupMe app to talk, and the SM posted an image of the guy and his description. So when I saw the guy come into trade, I directed my assistant store manager to start taking the trade. As the op stated, we were not allowed to call this kind of thing out. So I called a more veteran manager at the time and asked for advice. When I came back inside, I asked the guy for his ID and snapped a photo of it. Afterwards, I took over the transaction. I was joking and laughed with the guy about how much money he was getting back. The guy felt victorious, you could see it in his face. Right before I handed him the money, I told him that we have him on camera stealing this stuff from another store and that I also have a picture of his ID. I also told him that once he leaves, I'm going to call the police and report it. We had a camera in the height meter at the door, and the look of defeat as he left the store was priceless. The guy got close to $200 in cash for $800 in stolen merchandise. I called the non-emergency line for the police and reported it. The guy was caught soon after. That look of defeat part really hit me hard. I just can't imagine the way that dude was feeling walking out of that store, knowing for a fact that he was absolutely screwed as soon as he got out of there. He definitely wasn't as slick as our last thief, I'll tell you that much. I worked at a GameStop while I was in high school. It was around the time people from 4chan would call and ask if we had Battletoads in stock. The thing was, we did have a copy of Battletoads for Game Boy. It was after GameStop had stopped selling Game Boy games, but we still had a bunch that hadn't been destroyed yet. When the meme started, one of my co-workers put the copy of Battletoads in a desk drawer in the back room. We couldn't sell it, but we had to agree to just give it to the first person who came in and asked for Battletoads in person. We told everyone who called to please come in and take it. It sat in the drawer waiting for 3 years. Not one of those 4chan nerds came in to claim it. Very disappointing. I actually had no idea this was some kind of meme back in the day, but what's an even better meme is this guy got 15,500 upvotes and then decided to try and plug some affiliate link, and then his comment got deleted, so wonder if that was worth it. I worked at an EB Games in 2005. The important thing to note is that the EB Games didn't use the term used for games, but instead used pre-played. I had a woman come in to buy Sniper Elite for her husband, but I didn't have any more sealed copies, just the gutted display boxes. She didn't mind this and purchased it at a new game price. A few hours later, I get an angry phone call from a man who says I sold his wife a used game and charged her for a new copy. He explains who she was and I tell him what happened. He freaked out and says that the game was opened, which makes it used. I let him know that we don't sell used games, we sell pre-played games, and assured him that the disc was removed from the case, sleeved, and filed, which means it has never been played and is therefore a new copy. He gets loud, asks me how old I was, and goes off about how he is older than me and how he's a lawyer. He demands that he be refunded the difference between the prices, so I tell him that my store manager would be in the next morning and he could take it up with her. To my knowledge, he never called her, so I think he just gave up. You know what? I kinda get this one. Something for me if I'm buying physical copies of games is I like to have nice, neat cases. I know that might be a little bit weird, but that's just a personal preference. Maybe this guy was the same. Alright everyone, that is that for another episode of Ask Reddit. Just want to quickly start off by saying thank you so much for watching and I hope you enjoyed the video. This one was a bit on the lighter side, which I love to do. As you guys can probably tell lately, I've tried to do things that are, a little bit more fun, a little bit more, like I said, on the lighter side. Although I must admit, I was a little bit surprised by some of the things we come across that GameStop employees had to deal with. Most of the time, I just thought it would have been a pretty breezy run for them, but I guess I was wrong. Make sure to let me know what you think of these types of videos. I quite enjoy making them, like I said. I have a lot more fun with them, so if you do enjoy, make sure to leave a like on the video to show me you enjoy. But otherwise, I am going to let that wrap things up for today's episode of Ask Reddit. Don't forget to follow me on Twitter and Instagram. I did a little giveaway on Twitter the other day where I just gave away some CD keys of games that I didn't really want to use. So if you want to see more things like that as well, make sure to follow me on Twitter. And Instagram, I've just been getting into a little bit more. So slowly starting to post stories and post more things. So if you want to see me on a more personal level, make sure to follow me on there as well. But that is that for today's video. I just want to say again, thank you so much for watching. I hope you're all having a fantastic day and I'll see you all tomorrow for an episode of Entitled Parents. Bye.